Welcome to Melbourne and the inaugural event of the F1 2019 Championship season. The session is starting shortly and there's a real sense of anticipation in the air. A feeling that anything can happen this year, and if it does, well, this weekend could be the opening chapter to one of the most exciting F1 seasons ever. Joining me in the commentary box is, of course, Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you back again. What can you tell us about this year's roster? There are some new faces this year, aren't there?
Absolutely, Crofty. There's been a number of interesting signings over the last few months. Where would you like to start?
Let's talk about Bird.
Right, well, this is definitely someone to keep an eye on. Well, they've been signed up likely in no small part due to the way they carried themselves in the Formula 2 Championship. They have a great track record of putting the team first. At one of the races, they even gave up their own position when their car had a technical issue, so that their teammate Lucas Weber, who also debuts here today, could get ahead. That kind of team spirit could take them a long way this season.
Those two aren't the only new faces from Formula 2 this season, are they?
No, this season will introduce fans to George Russell and Lando Norris, two very promising young British drivers. Plus, we'll meet Alexander Albon from Thailand, and finally, Devon Butler. Now, Devon was a bit of a controversial figure in Formula 2 last year. He racked up a lot of penalties over the course of the season, including one where he collided with his closest rival. It was a nasty clip. Now, certainly after the event, they were nothing but professional in terms of how they spoke about the incident with Devon, but it's hard to imagine them being as polite about it behind closed doors. I think this rival will be one to keep an eye on over the next few races, as both drivers take their first steps into the world of Formula 1.
This first race of the season is always quite difficult for us trackside, and for those back at the factory as well, as it's the first time the car has run since winter testing. The more consistent mileage you can get in these sessions, the happier we'll be.
Hello YouTube, welcome back. My name is Brad, and today we are in Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix. I turned the driver difficulty back up to 90. I turned the racing line off, because I'm more familiar with the F1 cars than I am with the F2 cars. We got Roman Grosjean as our partner. There's a glitch where if you start a new career, it might choose the other teammate than the one you chose. That just got patched the day after I recorded this. Lucas Weber to McLaren, Butler to Red Bull. We'll probably have some good battles with Weber, but probably not going to catch up to Butler anytime soon. First practice, finished 16th and 18th. I'm not going to take those too seriously because I run slower practice things on P1. Practice 2, come up higher, and I run qualifying session in a P3. So I finished over 3 seconds faster than Roman Grosjean in this section, so I decided to turn up the difficulty level up to 95 for the race, and I feel like it's a good level for me for the Australian Grand Prix. So we're going to cut into qualifying mode here. I think this is the end of my flying lap. I'm coming across the line and I'm going to set it time good enough for P3. Of course, we were really early in the session, so I'm going to drop down the order, but it's good enough to get me through to Q2. Grosjean, he's pretty close to the cutoff, so if too many people improve, he won't make it through. Yeah, so we're going to see what happens right here at the end. I dropped to 11th, and Grosjean, the last person safe to make it in the qualifying 2/10 safe there, and I'm about 10th faster. But we're gonna jump into qualifying 2 to see how this goes. I'm doing my first lap on the tires I used in Q1. I want to set a banker time while still having 2 tires available if I make it into Q3. We're gonna come through here and just make a little bit of a lockup. I lose a bit of time, but the rest of this is looking nice and smooth, clean. 6/10ths down off Hamilton, but I'm never going to get close to him, so it's hard to really judge right now. Coming up on the back of Pierre Gasly, and hopefully he won't get in my way. We'll just set this lap once and make it clean. Nice turn in, but I turned in way too much there. Validates the lap time, so I'm going to back off, and I'm just going to run a second banker lap, because I should have time to do this lap and one of the fresh tires. Cutting to the next lap, I don't take enough curb there, and I end up losing a bit of time. Right about there is when I slowed down, so that's when I get all that massive time gain, but up until that point I was a tenth down.
There's only one lap of fuel remaining.
We are going to come across the line. I think I bottled it a little bit in this last corner. Yeah, going a bit too deep and I had to let off. That last corner is probably the hardest corner. I can never get it right. P15 on that lap, unused tires. We're just approaching the line on fresh tires. We're gonna do hopefully we'll get up into the top 10. But if not, it's not the worst thing in the world. I noticed running through practice sessions that the Haas is awful on tire and the tire wear. I didn't know what to expect going in, because in the game the Haas is the 4th best car, but in real life they really didn't have any pace at all in the race, but they did in qualifying, so I wasn't really sure, but I guess making the tire wear bad is one way to represent real life. We go in way too deep on that corner, but we're still up by 5/10, going up 6/10 here. Nice turn in, and that time I take the perfect amount of curve. Not enough that I can get away with it. Running into this turn, I don't know the turn numbers, but right here I broke a little bit too early, and then I lose a lot of time there on the final corner and just can't get it right. But we still gain 6/10, and it's only good enough for P14, which will take us out of qualifying. Grosjean qualifies P11, 5/10 ahead of me. That is not good enough. I did make a big mistake on that last lap, but we'll see how the race goes.
New drivers, new cars, it's a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that plays host to round 1 of a 21-race championship that takes us from here in Australia across the globe and the eventual season finale at the Yas Island circuit in Abu Dhabi. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. We have plenty of changes to the sport this year with tweaks to the regulations, a fresh-looking spread of tyre compounds, and of course some changes to the roster of car manufacturers. It's goodbye to Sauber and hello once again to the classic name of Alfa Romeo in Formula One. It's also goodbye to Force India. They've been rebranded as Racing Point. Joining me to take you through all the action of the 2019 Formula One season is Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Crofty. Always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to getting underway. Last year was Mercedes' 5th Constructors' title in a row, although for the first half of the season it was absolutely neck and neck with the Ferraris. Hopefully this year we can see the chasing pack take that final step, as I'd love to see a championship contest all the way up to the final race in Abu Dhabi. Another story to keep an eye on is the performance of Red Bull, who have switched to the Honda power unit this year. What that will mean for both their performance and reliability remains to be seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Butler, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Weber, Perez, Norris and Nico Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi, Bird, Kvyat, Raikkonen, George Russell and Lance Stroll, Kubica and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
I don't get it. How does Ricciardo have a 10-place grid penalty on the first race of the season? Anyway, we are doing the medium to hard compound strategy for this race. 29 laps of fuel. I feel like the tire wear is not good enough to do a soft to hards. I feel like we'll just lose too much pace right at the end of the stint and then get jumped by multiple people. With the mediums, everybody around me, I feel like their compound tires are going to go off. Mine's still going to be strong. Capitalize on that. I feel like my race pace is better than my qualifying pace. I feel like I can do. I'm not too consistent right now. I'll probably get better as I go on, but my consistency over going slightly slower is better than my all-out pace in qualifying. But we'll see how it does against 95 AI opponents here. 5 red lights. And away we go. A little bit too much throttle. I do slightly spin. And I'm going to make a dive up the inside and clamber right into Hülkenberg and break a bit of my front wing off. I was just a little bit too late on the brakes. If I broke a little bit earlier, I think we would have been fine. But right now, I'm hoping to mitigate the damage. I don't know how broken it is, but Hülkenberg and Gasly slow each other up, but I can't get by. The road's not thin enough, or wide enough, and I'm stuck in P13. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch Gasly, not with the front wing damage. If anything, I'm going to be holding up Raikkonen. But I don't know how, at this point, I don't know how damaged it is. If I'm able to keep a good pace up, I'd rather just stay out and maybe lose 2 places than having to make an extra pit stop. But yeah, right now I'm keeping pace with Gasly. I'm not really losing too much time, it looks like. But as the race goes on, I think I'd start to get a feel of how much damage there actually is. Raikkonen's going to try to make a move up my outside, actually. But I've cut him off aggressively and send him back. But you can actually see how much space there is to Gasly. And on the lap 2, he's like completely gone. Raikkonen's going to try to come up my outside again, but there's not enough space to make the move. I figure as long as I can keep these guys behind me, there's no point in pitting for a new front wing and going down so far. But I don't know I still don't get like how slow I'm going. A little bit of a lost grip there. Well, I'm gonna come around here, and Raikkonen's gonna come up right up behind me, and he's gonna make a move up my inside. I can't hold him back. He just makes a great braking effort. So he's gone. There's no way I'm catching him, especially since I'm on the medium and everybody else around me is on the soft tire. I go a little deep in there, but Giovinazzi tries, but he can't make the move. But the understeer is just so bad. I had to lift off around that normally flat corner, and Giovinazzi makes an amazing move to take the inside and get by. And then also Kvyat gets up my inside too, and I lock up going in, which allows Stroll to get by. And at this point, I realized how slow I was. Ricardo tries to go around at the high speed chicane, but at this point, and I get the DRS off of Stroll somehow, which allows me to keep Ricardo behind. But I think, yeah, I'm definitely going in on this lap. There's no way I can stay out. I'm gonna change up the strategy, switch to softs, and see if I can just mitigate as much damage as possible. But I am gonna be extremely far behind because I wasn't that far up the field to begin with. And plus, we have a long pit stop ahead of us. All I can do now is try to avoid getting any more damage in the future and just race as hard as I can. But as you'll see in the top left, as soon as we cross the line, 21 seconds to Kubica. That's a massive gap. It's gonna be tough to make it up. So cutting from lap 4 to lap 11, where we finally pass people in the pit lane. So we're up in the P16, if only temporarily, but right around this point is where I felt the soft tire starting to go off, because we're going to cut the lap 12, and you'll see that Ricardo is closed up massively, and Lance Stroll coming out of the pit lane, and he squeezes us so aggressively, like completely off the track. Surprised he didn't get a penalty for that one, but that allows Ricardo to get extremely close. A little bit of a lockup for me, and Ricardo gets by, but I managed to squeeze by in the next turn. But that's not going to be enough because I'm on old, 10 lap old soft tires, and Ricardo is he's on completely fresh mediums. The speed difference is just going to be too great. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep him behind for long. He's going to try to make a move at the high-speed chicane, but going around the outside is never going to work. Especially if unless you're like farther ahead than they are, and you just lose the speed. And then going into the penultimate corner, I just let him go because I'm going into the pits. I didn't want to slow myself down. But I set my fuel to exactly 29 laps, and I burned a lot in the beginning, so I'm stuck in like standard and lean mixtures up until I can recover as much as I can. And my battery usage is a little bit high late. Has been a little bit high, just trying to keep pace. We made up some ground on Kubica. We are only 15 seconds behind now compared to 21 before. Cutting to lap 20 or lap 15. There, Lance Stroll retires from the Grand Prix. It was a mechanical failure. No big crash. No virtual or actual safety car. But going on the lap 17, just 2 laps later, we get a virtual safety car. This is coming a day before the patch was released, so it's probably lucky that I actually even got this, because in the new patch, the safety car rating has gone, safety car, the amount of time safety car comes out is increased. I'm stuttering over all my words, but if you notice in the top left, there's Raikkonen is dropping down the order, so he's the one who's out with also a mechanical failure there. Coming to the end of the lap, virtual safety car is ending, and if you look in the top left, Hulkenberg actually decided to try to pit under the virtual safety car, but they just got the timing all wrong, because now he's stuck in the pits while everybody's racing at full speed, which actually puts him on track and behind me in this race. So for the first time since the beginning laps, I'm no longer in a net last place. And Kubica, he's been on those hard tires ever since his early pit stop, so his tires will probably go off at the end of the Grand Prix. If I can make these mediums last, I have a really solid chance of catching him, especially since the Williams is the slowest car of the Grand Prix. In the F1, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, on lap 25 here, this is the first time we see Kubica since the beginning of the Grand Prix. We are closer than ever than passing him, but we still have to make sure we can close up in the 4 laps we have left. Let's see if we can actually get him. So we managed to get both of the Williams right before the last lap of the Grand Prix. So all we have to do now is just leave them in the dust, and we'll be scot-free in P15. Not the result that I wanted, but it's good considering what happened. What I did at the start of the race, and having to make that extra pit stop. But Bottas wins the race, and Hulkenberg, who pitted under that virtual safety car, is now extremely close to me. He's right up my gearbox. But unless I make some major mistake here, he shouldn't be able to get past. Even with that major mistake where I overdid it into the penultimate corner, he still isn't able to get past. I put the engine up to the max power so to guarantee he can't get by. And that's P15.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So I come in P15. Roman Grosjean gets the final point in P10. Bottas P1 beating out Hamilton and Vettel, and then the two Red Bulls, Verstappen and Butler, coming 4th and 5th. This is going to be a good season to watch, to see how the fight at the front turns out. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, that order might change around a lot. We come in 6th with our lone point from Roman Grosjean, but hopefully we'll score a lot more. And then that, I can't talk. I'm just so bad at talking. I keep stuttering over my words. We are losing to Roman Grosjean. That's just the qualifying point that we lost to him. Still early days. We get a nice chunk of points. I forget what they're called again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I can't talk. We lose a whole bunch of rep because maybe on the contract goal, Emma.
This isn't bumper cars at the fairground.
Emma.
Your results and conduct here matter, so pay more attention. We can't afford too many races like that.
Emma.
Looks like one of your rivals has also been invited to a historical event. This could be a good opportunity to play up your rivalry for the press and expand your reputation.
Alright. So I feel like they're only mad at me because the contract goal says they want me to get 4th place, which is so unrealistic. So on upgrades, we do a durability upgrade. That one's like always the first thing you have to do. And then I was debating on whether to do any of the other things. With 1900 points left, we are decent on the engine, but I decided to go with the aerodynamics, and I actually thought I had enough, but I was 2 points short to do both of the upgrades for the aerodynamics. So I'm gonna have to wait until the next episode to do any other upgrades than that. But anyway, we got a long season ahead of us, so if you like what you see and you want to keep watching, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.